Where did Jungkook go for 24 hours? Why did he disappear without a trace? And what really happened behind closed doors? Stay with us until the end and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe as we uncover a story filled with mystery, emotion and unanswered questions. What if one of the most recognizable faces in the world suddenly vanished? Not for days, not for weeks, but just long enough to make everyone question everything. What if for 24 hours there were no updates, no appearances, no signs of Jungkook anywhere? Would it be dismissed as a simple break? Or would it reveal something far more unexpected? It began like any other day, or at least it appeared that way. The world moved at its usual pace, fans scrolled through updates, and the rhythm of global attention continued uninterrupted. Jungkook, known for his consistency and presence, had just completed a series of activities that reinforced his image as someone always in motion, always engaged, always visible. And then suddenly there was nothing. No message, no post, no confirmation. At first it didn't seem unusual. Silence, after all, is not uncommon. Public figures often step back, even briefly, to rest or recharge. But as hours passed, something began to feel different. The absence was not just physical. It was noticeable, almost heavy, as if a constant presence had been quietly removed. Fans began to ask questions. Not loudly at first, but enough to create a ripple. Where was he? Why hadn't there been any update? Was everything okay? The questions spread, not in panic but in curiosity. Because when someone like Jungkook disappears, even briefly, it disrupts a sense of continuity that people have grown accustomed to. He is not just seen, he is expected to be seen. His presence has become part of a daily rhythm for millions, and when that rhythm breaks, even slightly, it is felt. Behind the scenes, however, something else was unfolding. The 24 hours in question were not empty. They were not a simple absence, nor were they entirely disconnected from the world. They were, in many ways, a pause, a rare and deliberate moment where visibility gave way to something more private, more personal, more difficult to define. There are moments in life, even for those constantly in the spotlight, where stepping away becomes necessary. Not for dramatic reasons, not for headlines, but for something quieter. A need to breathe without observation, to exist without interpretation, to feel without the pressure of being seen. For Jungkook, those 24 hours became exactly that. But what happened during that time? The truth is not something that can be summarized easily, because it is not built on a single event or a single explanation. It is built on a series of moments, small, almost ordinary moments that, when combined, create something significant. There was a departure from routine, a decision to step outside the usual structure, to move without the constant presence of cameras, expectations, and schedules. It was not an escape in the dramatic sense, but a shift in environment, a temporary removal from a space that had become both familiar and demanding. In that space, time moved differently. Without the urgency of schedules, without the constant awareness of being observed, there was room for something that is often overlooked: reflection. Not the kind that is shared in interviews or expressed through carefully chosen words, but a quieter, more internal process. Reflection can be uncomfortable. It brings questions to the surface, questions that are not always easy to answer. Questions about direction, about identity, about the balance between personal desires and external expectations. For someone like Jungkook, these questions carry additional weight, shaped by years of visibility and responsibility. There were moments of stillness, moments where the noise of the outside world faded, replaced by a quieter awareness of self. These moments are not dramatic, but they are powerful. They create space for thoughts that are often pushed aside, for feelings that are not always fully explored. And then there was the realization, subtle but significant. The realization that stepping away, even briefly, does not erase the connection with the world, but it changes the perspective. It allows for a different kind of clarity, one that is not influenced by immediate expectations or external pressures. But clarity does not always come with answers. Sometimes it simply brings awareness. As the 24 hours continued, the outside world remained unaware of these internal shifts. Speculation grew, but it remained distant from the reality of what was actually happening. Because the truth was not dramatic enough to match the curiosity it had created. It was not a scandal, not a crisis, not a revelation in the traditional sense. It was something quieter. It was the story of someone who, for a brief moment, chose to exist outside the narrative that had been built around them. And yet, even in that choice, there was an awareness that the return was inevitable, that the world would still be there, that expectations would resume, that visibility would once again become part of the everyday experience. When Jungkook reappeared, there was no dramatic announcement, no detailed explanation, just a return to presence, as if the absence had been a pause rather than a disruption. For many it was enough. The questions faded, replaced by relief, by continued admiration, by the resumption of normalcy. But for those who looked a little closer, the 24 hours carried a different meaning. They were not about disappearance. They were about distance. They were about the rare and necessary act of stepping away, even if only briefly, to reconnect with something that cannot always exist under constant observation. And so the question remains, not where Jungkook was, but what those 24 hours represented. What does it mean for someone who is always seen to choose, even for a moment, to not be seen? If this story made you think, if it made you question the nature of fame and presence, don't let that curiosity end here. Share your thoughts, leave a comment, and be part of a conversation that looks beyond what is visible. Because sometimes the most meaningful stories are not the ones that are fully explained, but the ones that invite us to think deeper. And yet, the more you sit with those missing 24 hours, the more the story begins to expand into something far less simple than a pause, and far more unsettling than a coincidence. Because absence, especially from someone like Jungkook, does not just create questions. It exposes how much of his presence the world has quietly depended on. What changed in those hours was not just where he was, but how everything felt without him. Because his life is not lived in isolation. It is lived in connection with fans, with expectations, with an image that has been carefully shaped over time. And stepping away from that connection, even briefly, changes the perspective. But clarity is not always comfortable. It can bring awareness to things that were easier to ignore, to feelings that were easier to set aside. It can highlight the contrast between moments of visibility and moments of privacy, between being constantly present and briefly absent. For Jungkook, this contrast is not theoretical. It is lived. And in those 24 hours, the contrast became more visible than ever, even if only to himself.